Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another video. Today I'm going to make a filled pocket card. I'm going to start out with one piece of 12 by 12 cardstock and some coordinating cut-aparts. Now you can make this with any kind of cardstock. It doesn't really have to be super thick. This happens to be from the Happy Glamper collection from Photoplay. This is an older collection, but you can use any coordinated papers for this. You can also just use whatever you have in your stash. Use a plain piece of cardstock for the base and whatever stickers and cut-aparts and ephemera you might have laying around. You can even use stamps inside this one. Use this kind of as a starting point and do whatever you want to do with it. If you don't start out with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, then take your 12 by 12 and cut that down to 8.5 by 11. And we're basically going to score this in half on both sides. So on the 11-inch side, you want to go ahead and score at 5.5. And I go ahead and score on the front and the back side. I want to break up these fibers. This Photoplay paper is pretty thick, and what I don't want is to bend the fold and create cracking in the blue side of the paper. So on the 8.5 side, I want to go ahead and score at 4.25. So I do that on both sides as well. And then I'm just going to go ahead and fold and burnish. If you've been worried that your like button isn't working, go ahead and give that thumb a click and test it out right now. Now that our score lines are nicely creased, we are going to make a cut that will just remove the tiniest bit of the paper from where the folds meet. Basically, there is quite a bit of bulk that will be in the middle of the fold here, as I point that out. We are just going to take the smallest amount of paper possible away from this crease. So basically, if you see the score line, you're just going to want to cut the score line away. And you don't want to cut it so far down that it goes past that horizontal score line. You just want to go right below it so that it protects the integrity of the front and back of your card. So you can see here I'm trying to get as little as possible to cut away, and then about a centimeter before I hit that next middle score line, I just kind of cut at an angle. And this basically takes some of the bulk out from the seam of where the card folds. And that tiny bit of paper surprisingly makes a big difference when you cut it away. And it may look like it is pretty significant just at first here, but once we get the card all decorated and glued together, you won't even really notice it. So now, instead of those pages poking out from behind, they're laying flush. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and make some score lines. And these are going to be really small score lines, not even like 1/8 of an inch if I can help it. Basically what I'm doing is I'm going to score on 2 places on one corner of my cardstock, and then that will allow me to create that little pocket. So you can see I am motioning with my bone folder there. And so I just make one little score at 2 1/4, and then I kind of flip it around so that I can do 2 1/4 on the corresponding side. So that other score mark that I just made is underneath my fingers right now. Make one 2 1/4 right there. And then we're going to make 2 pockets. So I go ahead and figure out what is the front part of my card, which is that part. So I'm going to go ahead and make score marks on that side as well, so that we can make the same little folded down pocket. And now I'm going to take those score marks and fold them down into a pocket. One pocket's going to go forward and one's going to go back, and that'll make sense in just a second here. So this is the inside of the card, and you'll see that I'm going to go ahead and fold this inside pocket in. You could definitely just cut this at an angle if you wanted to, but I just left that piece of paper in there. And the one on the outside gets folded out. So now I'm going to go ahead and create the pockets by just adhering some glue, and the glue is just going to go along the top. Since this inside pocket is folded back, it was easy to know where to apply the glue. And we're leaving the side open. And now you can see I start gluing at the corner, or trying to, and then I realize that that part of the cardstock is actually showing. And luckily I caught it in time. Then I just kind of closed it, figured out where the bead of glue needed to start, and glued this part down. So now you see we have one pocket in the front and one pocket inside. And the next thing we're going to do is decorate. Because these pockets are open along the short side, I decided to close it up with some string. I originally had some ribbon, but I liked the look of this yellow string and it wasn't so bulky, so that's what I use. You see I just take a pretty significant length of the twine. It must be like 1.5 feet or so, and then kind of eyeball where it's going to sit. And then I start decorating the card so that the twine just kind of lays underneath the cardstock. So for this card, I have 2 pieces of cardstock that are 5 1/4 by 4. One is going to go inside and one is going to go on the back. Sometimes when I glue string or ribbon underneath a piece of cardstock, I'll use a little piece of washi tape to keep the string in place, but I didn't do that this time. I just went ahead and put some glue on my cardstock and just kind of carefully laid it over the string as I put the cardstock down. Here I'm just trying to make sure that it's relatively straight. I do want the string to go over the seam and then tie at about the same place. So just kind of eyeballing it so that it is straightish, and then making sure that I don't pull the twine too tight underneath my paper. And for the front here, I had this cute little cut apart that says, "Today I will be as happy as a bird with a French fry." And I went ahead and glued that on top of another piece of the corresponding cardstock. It was a piece of another one of the cut aparts. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary. Sometimes the layering of paper gives it a little more finished look. So that's what I did here. And of course I like the yellow and the orange together. And then I go ahead and glue the cut apart down, just straightening my twine a little bit as I go. So for the inside of the card, I just used another one of my pieces of cardstock that I had cut down to 5 1/4 by 4. This is a piece that I chose specifically because it is pretty light in color and not very busy, so that a sentiment or a message could be written here. I added a couple more cut aparts here. This is when you might stamp a sentiment on that inside piece if you wanted to do that. And with those extra little embellishments, this card is ready to be filled. So this is your card. You can fill it up with whatever you want. Of course, you are pretty limited to just kind of flat things. I start out with a gift card here to really kind of serve as the larger gift. But I also fill it up with some other little bits of nonsense. I put another cut apart in here. It just kind of goes along with the theme of travel and vacation and glamping. Another thing that I like to keep on hand for Happy Mail are these little letters. So these are felt self-adhesive letters. And of course, a lot of times you can find a whole set of the alphabet in, you know, like a $2 or $3 bag at either the Target dollar spot or, you know, some big little box stores. Here I also decide that I'm going to put some stickers in here. So I have one of Jerry, one of Jean. I have a little bus, Ice Bear with an axe, and then of course a little dancing bear. So I went ahead and put those in the front pocket. And then I finish off this front pocket with a couple of umbrella toothpicks, which I sometimes get also when they're on sale. You can get them at the dollar store, or sometimes I buy them on Oriental Trading when they're on clearance. And they're something that people just don't usually keep around or buy for themselves, so people tend to like them. And so now that this is filled, I go ahead and tie it up, and it is ready to put in an envelope. With these little umbrellas, I'm sure that this will have to go in a 5x6 envelope, and a 2 envelope is going to be a little too small to be able to close up on these little umbrellas. I hope you enjoyed my filled pocket card project. These make great little party favors or gift card holders. You can also put photos in them. Thanks so much for spending another few minutes with me today. If you liked this video, please hit the like button, and don't forget, safety first.